Imagine waking up one morning to the sound of war horns blaring in the distance, the ground trembling under the weight of 100 Viking longships slicing through the mist toward your village. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and you grab whatever's closest, a pitchfork, maybe a kitchen knife, because, survival depends on how fast you can think and act. Now fast forward 1,000 years, you're sipping coffee, scrolling through your inbox, and there it is. You've won $1,000. Click here to claim your heart skips a beat, not from excitement, but from suspicion. You hesitate hovering over the delete button because you know one wrong click could unleash chaos on your digital life. Crazy, right? How 1,000 years apart, the same gut-twisting dread ties a Viking raid to a spam email. Both are invasions, one with axes, and fire the other with phishing links and malware. In this video, we're diving into the wild world of Viking raids and comparing them to the modern terror of spam emails. Why? Because the fear is real, whether it's a bearded warrior kicking down your door or a sneaky email trying to steal your bank details. And just like our ancestors learned to spot a longship on the horizon, we'll uncover how to stay sharp and protect ourselves in today's digital wilderness. Let's set sail. Picture this. It's the 9th century and you're a farmer in a quiet coastal village in England. Life's tough but predictable, 10. The crops feed the livestock, maybe barter for some wool. Then one foggy morning, the lookout screams Vikings. Suddenly, your peaceful existence is upended. These Norse raiders with their dragon-proud ships and relentless hunger for loot weren't just pirates. They were a force of nature. They'd strike fast, burn villages, snatch treasure, and vanish before anyone could mount a defense. The fear wasn't just about losing your stuff, it was about losing everything. Your home, your family, your life. The Vikings didn't mess around, and neither did the panic they inspired. Now let's swap that foggy coastline for your phone screen in 2025. You're checking your email, and there's a message from your bank with a subject line like urgent account suspended. Your stomach drops. You know it's probably fake, but what if it's not? One click and you could be handing over your passwords, your savings, your identity. Just like a Viking raid, spam emails hit fast and exploit your vulnerabilities. They don't need axes, they use urgency and deception to break through your defenses. And the stakes, they're just as high. Your personal data is your modern day treasure, and losing it can burn your financial house to the ground. So what made Viking raids so terrifying? It wasn't just the violence though, that was plenty real. Think swords, clashing villages in flames, and warriors who saw fear as an invitation. It was the unpredictability. Vikings could strike anywhere, anytime, often, under the cover of dawn or bad weather. They targeted monasteries, villages, even cities because they knew where the good stuff was. Monasteries, for instance, were like the ATMs of the early medieval world, full of gold, silver, and sacred relics with zero security cameras. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a historical record from the time, describes raids like the one on Lindisfarne in 793 as heathen men bringing lamentation and slaughter. That's not just a robbery, it's a psychological gut punch. Compare that to your inbox. Spam emails are the modern equivalent of those lightning-fast raids. They're unpredictable, you never know when one's going to slip past your spam filter. But they're targeted, too crafted to look like they're from your bank, your boss, or even your mom. And just like the Vikings exploited weak defenses, spammers prey on our distractions, our trust, or that tiny voice saying maybe this deal is real. The numbers are staggering in 2024. Over 300 billion emails were sent daily, and nearly half were spam according to Statista. That's billions of digital longships flooding our shores every day, hoping to catch us off guard. But here's where it gets juicy. Our ancestors weren't helpless against the Vikings, and we're not defenseless against spam. Back then, survival meant getting smart fast. Villages started building watchtowers, training militias, even paying Danegeld, basically Viking hush money to avoid trouble. It wasn't perfect, but it showed they could adapt. They learned to read the signs, strange sails on the horizon, whispers of raids from neighboring towns. That vigilance saved lives. Today we've got our own version of Watchtower spam filters, antivirus software, two-factor authentication, but just like a poorly guarded village, an unprotected inbox is an open invitation. Here's the kicker, Vikings and spammers both thrive on exploiting human nature. The Vikings knew people would panic and scatter, making raids easier. Spammers know we're busy curious, or just plain greedy sometimes, so they dangle free money or urgent alerts to hook us. Think about it, if a Viking showed up offering you a chest of gold to let him into your village, you'd laugh him off. So why do we hesitate when an email promises $1 million for a single click? Maybe we haven't evolved as much as we think. So what can we learn from our axe-dodging ancestors? First, stay vigilant. Just as they scanned the seas for trouble, we need to scan our inboxes with a skeptical eye. If an email looks fishy, typos weird sender addresses, too good to be true offers, trust your gut and delete it. Second, preparation is everything. Villages fortified their walls. We can fortify our digital lives with strong passwords and regular software updates. And third, don't go it alone. Back then, communities banded together to fend off raiders. Today, sharing tips with friends like how to spot a phishing scam can save someone from a digital disaster. As we sail deeper into this comparison, you might be wondering, how did the Vikings' tactics evolve, and how do SP policing scammers keep upping the ante? It's a wild parallel because both are about exploiting weaknesses and adapting to stay one step ahead. Stick with me because next we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of how these raids shaped history and how modern cyber tricks mirror those ancient strategies. So we've set the stage: Viking longships slicing through the fog, ready to plunder, and spam emails sneaking into your inbox poised to swipe your data. Both hit hard fast and where it hurts most. But let's dive deeper into the chaos. How did these Viking raids actually play out, and what makes spam email such a persistent thorn in our digital sides? Buckle up because this is where the parallels get wild, and we'll see how human nature hasn't changed much in 1,000 years, even if our battlegrounds have. Let's rewind to the Viking Age, roughly the 8th to 11th centuries, when Norse raiders were the stuff of nightmares across Europe. These weren't just random pirates, they were strategic masterminds. Picture a Viking warband, bearded, battle-hardened, and scarily organized, landing on a shore like Northumbria or Francia. They didn't just charge in swinging axes. They scouted first, targeting places with weak defenses or fat loot like monasteries stuffed with gold chalices or villages with overflowing granaries. The attack on Lindisfarne in 793 wasn't a fluke. It was a calculated hit on a religious and economic jackpot. Chronicles from the time describe monks fleeing in terror as Vikings torched sacred spaces and hauled off treasures. The fear wasn't just about the violence, it was the precision, the way they exploited every gap in their target's armor. Now swap out those longships for emails. Spam isn't random either, it's a calculated strike. Cyber criminals don't blast out billions of emails hoping for dumb luck. They're scouting too, using data leaks from hacked websites or social media to tailor their attacks. Ever get an email that feels creepily personal, like it knows your name or your bank? That's not magic, it's phishing, and it's as targeted as a Viking picking out a poorly guarded village. In 2024, the FBI's Internet Crime Report noted over $5 billion in losses from cybercrimes like phishing, with emails often posing as trusted brands or even your coworkers. Just like the Vikings knew a monastery's weak point, spammers know your inbox is only as strong as your worst impulse. What made Viking raids so effective? Timing and psychology. They struck at dawn or during storms when people were groggy or distracted. They used fear as a weapon, screaming war cries, brandishing massive shields, making you think resistance was futile. And they adapted. When villages started fortifying, Vikings shifted to hit-and-run tactics or demanded tribute to leave peacefully. Some even settled down, like in Normandy, turning from raiders to rulers. That adaptability kept them ahead of the game, forcing their enemies to play catch-up. Spam emails pull the same tricks. Timing. You get that urgent bank alert right when you're half asleep scrolling at 2 Misser psychology. Those emails lean hard into fear. Your account is locked, or greed. Claim your free iPhone. An adaptation. Oh, they're pros. When spam filters got better, scammers switched to more convincing fakes emails that mimic your company's IT department or use AI to craft flawless grammar. In 2025, deepfake tech is making scams even scarier, with emails linking to videos that look like your boss begging for a wire transfer. Just like Vikings learned to dodge pitchfork-wielding villagers, spammers dodge our defenses, finding new ways to slip through. But here's where it gets juicy: both Vikings and spammers prey on the same human weaknesses. Back then, people panicked, fled, or paid up because they felt outmatched. Today we click that dodgy link because we're rushed curious or just hopeful it's legit. It's like we're still those villagers frozen at the sight of a longship, except now it's a notification ping that catches us off guard. Ever wonder why we fall for it? It's because our brains haven't evolved much since the Viking Age. We're wired to react fast to threats or rewards, and both raiders and scammers exploit that wiring like nobody's business. Let's talk survival. The Vikings' victims weren't helpless forever. After getting burned a few times, communities got wise. They built stone walls, posted sentries, and trained warriors to fight back. Some even negotiated paying Donegal to buy peace, though that often just invited more raids. The point is, they learned to spot patterns, a strange sail, a quiet harbor before an attack. That vigilance was their shield. Fast forward to today, and we're doing the same. Spam filters catch most junk emails, but the sneaky ones still get through. That's where our modern vigilance comes in, checking sender addresses, avoiding sketchy links, and never sharing personal info with an email that screams too good to be true. Here's a fun comparison. Imagine a Viking standing at your village gate offering a shiny gold necklace if you let him in. You'd see through that in a heartbeat, right? So why do we hesitate when an email offers a free vacation or a crypto jackpot? It's the same trick, just dressed up in pixels instead of chainmail. Our ancestors had to learn fast or lose everything. We're no different, except our treasure is our data, and one bad click can cost us our bank account, our identity, or worse. So what did the Viking raids teach our ancestors? Adapt or die. They figured out how to read the signs band together and fight smarter. That's why villages eventually became fortified towns, and why kings built armies to push back. It wasn't just about surviving one raid, it was about building a system to outlast the threat. Today we're building our own defenses, strong passwords, two-factor authentication, and a healthy dose of skepticism. But just like some villages paid Danegeld only to get raided again, clicking unsubscribe on a spam email can make things worse. It tells scammers you're active, inviting more attacks. The long-term impact of Viking raids huge. They didn't just loot, they reshaped Europe. Trade routes shifted, kingdoms fortified, and some Vikings even integrated sparking cultural exchanges that led to things like the Danelaw in England. Spam's impact is just as big. It's forced us to rethink cybersecurity, from GDPR laws to corporate firewalls. But it's also made us paranoid, second-guessing every email, just like villagers scanning the horizon for longships. And here's a thought: if Vikings could turn from raiders to settlers, could our digital defenses evolve to stop spam for good? Or are we doomed to keep fighting these inbox invaders? Speaking of fighting, how do we take the lessons from those Viking-plagued villages and apply them to our inboxes today? Next, we'll break down the practical steps to protect your digital loot, and why staying one step ahead of spammers is a lot like outsmarting a Viking warlord. If you're wondering how close you've come to a digital raid stick around, have you ever clicked a link you shouldn't have? Let's find out how to make sure it never happens again. Alright, we've sailed through the chaos of Viking raids and dodged the digital arrows of spam emails, seeing how both exploit our fears and weaknesses with eerie precision. But now let's pull into port and take stock. What can we learn from those terrified villagers who face Viking longships? And how do those lessons help us fortify our inboxes today? This is where we connect the dots, draw some battle lines, and figure out how to outsmart modern scammers the way our ancestors outwitted raiders. Grab your shield or your mouse and let's dive in. Let's recap the journey so far. Viking raids were brutal, targeted, and built on exploiting human panic. From the torching of Lindisfarne in 793 to countless coastal villages turned to ash, these Norse warriors struck where defenses were weakest, using speed and fear to overwhelm. Spam emails, same game, different battlefield. They flood our inboxes with fake bank alerts, too good to be true deals, or AI-crafted phishing scams betting will slip up in a moment of distraction. Both thrive on catching us off guard, whether it's a war cry at dawn or a sneaky email at midnight. But here's the thing, our ancestors didn't just cower, they adapted, and so can we. So what did those Viking-plagued villages do to survive? They got organized. After the first few raids, people realized running wasn't enough. They built watchtowers to spot ships, early trained militias to fight back, and even stashed valuables in hidden spots. Some paid Danegeld tribute to make the Vikings go away, but that was like paying a hacker to unlock your ransomware. It only invited more trouble. The real game changer was vigilance and preparation. Communities learned to read the signs, strange sails, quiet harbors, or rumors from traders. By the 10th century, places like Wessex under King Alfred were fortifying towns and building navies, turning the tide against the raiders. Now let's bring that to 2025. Our inbox is our village, and spam emails are the longships. Just like those early warning systems, we've got tools, spam filters, antivirus software, and email authentication protocols like DMARC. But tools alone aren't enough. We need to channel that Viking-era vigilance. Think about it, if a villager saw a dragon-proud ship and thought, hey, maybe it's just traders, they'd be toast. Same goes for that email from PayPay1 with a weird 1 instead of an L. Spotting the red flags, typos, odd sender domains, urgent demands is our modern watchtower. In 2024, Verizon's data breach report found 80% of cyber incidents involved human error like clicking phishing links. That's not tech failing, that's us ignoring the sails on the horizon. Here's where the parallel gets spicy. Both Vikings and spammers evolve faster than their targets. When villages fortified, Vikings switched to inland raids or negotiated settlements like the Danelaw in England. When spam filters improved, scammers leaned into social engineering tricks that manipulate our emotions. Ever get an email saying your package is delayed unless you click now? That's not a glitch, it's a Viking war cry designed to make you act before you think. And with AI, scammers are crafting emails so convincing they'd fool even a skeptical monk. The lesson: we can't just build walls and call it a day. We have to keep sharpening our instincts just like our ancestors kept sharpening their spears. So what are the practical takeaways from those raid-ravaged days? First, trust your gut. If an email feels off, it probably is. Vikings didn't announce their raids with fanfare. Spammers don't either. Second, lock your gates. Use strong, unique passwords. Think of them as your village's stone walls. Enable two-factor authentication. It's like posting a guard at the gate. Third, stay informed. Our ancestors shared raid warnings through traders and messengers. Today, follow cybersecurity blogs or alerts from your bank to spot new scams. And fourth, don't pay the Dane Geld. Clicking unsubscribe or replying to spam just confirms your email is active, inviting more attacks. Delete and move on. But let's zoom out for a second. The Viking raids didn't just teach survival, they shaped history. They forced Europe to get tougher kingdoms, centralized trade routes adapted, and cultural mixing laid roots for modern nations. Spam's doing something similar. It's pushed us to tighten data privacy laws like GDPR or California's CCPA and invest billions in cybersecurity, but it's also made us question our digital trust. We're like villagers scanning the horizon, wary of every email app or link. And that paranoia isn't always bad, it's keeping us sharp just like it did our ancestors. Here's a thought: are we really that much smarter than those villagers? They fell for Viking tricks, fake peace talks, surprise attacks because they were human. We fall for spam because we're busy, stressed, or just maybe that free iPhone sounds tempting. Our tech has evolved, but our impulses haven't. The Viking Age showed us that survival isn't about being fearless, it's about being prepared. Today that means treating your inbox like a fortress, not a playground. Ever clicked a link and regretted it? You're not alone, but you can learn to dodge the next one. Let's get practical with some Viking-inspired tips for your digital life. 1. Check the sender's email address, not just the name. Scammers fake display names like Amazon support, but the real address might be gibberish or shady. 2. Hover over links before clicking to see where they lead. Think of it as checking for Viking sales before opening your gate. 3. Back up your data regularly. If a raid, digital or otherwise, hits you, won't lose everything. And 4. Educate your crew. Share scam warnings with family or coworkers like villages spreading word of raiders. A 2024 study by Nobi4 found employees trained in phishing awareness were 60% less likely to fall for scams. That's the power of community then and now. As we wrap this part up, think about this. The Vikings didn't just raid, they left a legacy. Their chaos sparked resilience and innovation. Spam's doing the same, forcing us to rethink how we protect our digital world. But how do we turn these lessons into a battle plan for 2025 and beyond? In the final part, we'll tie it all together. Why staying one step ahead of spammers is like outsmarting a Viking warlord, and how you can keep your data safe while laughing off the next, you've won a yacht. Email. If you've ever wondered how close you are to a digital disaster, the next part's for you. Let's keep sailing toward victory. So here we are at the end of our wild ride, comparing Viking raids to the relentless spam emails flooding our inboxes. We've seen how Norse warriors and digital scammers both exploit our fear strike when we're least prepared and force us to adapt or face the consequences. From villages trembling at the sight of longships to you hesitating over a sketchy email, the game hasn't changed much, just the weapons. Let's wrap this up by pulling together the lessons from those axe-wielding days and turning them into a battle plan to keep your digital life safe in 2025. Plus, we'll reflect on what this all means for us as modern humans still dodging threats in a world that's not so different from a Viking-ravaged coast. Ready to fortify your inbox and sail into the sunset? Let's do this! Let's take a quick step back to see the full picture. Viking raids were more than just smash and grab chaos. They were calculated assaults that targeted weak spots, monasteries with gold villages with no walls, or communities too slow to react. The fear they sparked wasn't just about losing loot, it was about losing everything in a heartbeat. Fast forward to today and spam emails are pulling the same stunt. They're not random, they're crafted to hit you where you're vulnerable, whether it's a fake Netflix login page or a your account's been hacked scare. We've learned that both Vikings and spammers thrive on our human instincts, panic, curiosity, or that tiny hope for an easy win. But we've also seen how our ancestors fought back building defenses and getting smarter, and we're doing the same with spam filters, strong passwords, and a skeptical eye. Now let's get real, what does this mean for you sitting there with your phone or laptop wondering if that email from your bank is legit? The Viking Age taught us that survival isn't about outmuscling the threat, it's about outsmarting it. Those villagers didn't beat the Vikings by becoming stronger warriors overnight. They built systems, watchtowers, militias, even alliances with rival kingdoms. They learned to spot the signs of a raid before it hit. Today, your inbox is your village, and your systems are your cybersecurity habits. Every time you double-check a sender's email address or pause before clicking a link, you're channeling that same vigilance that kept our ancestors alive. It's not about being paranoid, it's about being prepared. Here's the deeper question, have we really evolved past those terrified villagers? Sure, we've got smartphones and Wi-Fi, but our brains still react the same way to threats or shiny promises. A Viking offering a sack of gold to let him into your village is no different from an email promising a crypto jackpot for one quick click. We're still humans, still prone to that split-second lapse in judgment. The difference is, we've got better tools if we use them. In 2024, the FBI reported over 800,000 cybercrime complaints, with phishing and spam leading the pack. That's not just a stat, it's a reminder that scammers are still raiding and we're still learning to fight back, just like our ancestors did when they traded pitchforks for fortified walls. So what are the big lessons from this journey? First, vigilance is your best weapon. Just like a lookout scanning for Viking sales, you need to scrutinize every email. Check the sender's domain, anything like support Amazon deals. XYZ is a red flag. Hover over links to see where they really lead. If it's not the official site, it's a trap. Second, fortify your defenses. Use complex passwords, think V1 King or 13 DRLD 2025 instead of password 123, and enable two-factor authentication everywhere. It's like locking your village gate and posting a guard. Third, back up your data. If a digital raid hits, whether it's ransomware or a hacked account, a backup is like a hidden stash of gold that keeps you safe. And finally, spread the word. Our ancestors shared raid warnings. You can share scam alerts with friends or family. A quick heads up about a new phishing trick can save someone's digital life. Let's talk impact. Viking raids didn't just burn villages, they reshaped the world. They forced Europe to get tougher, sparking stronger kingdoms' new trade routes, and even cultural blends that gave us modern nations. Spam's doing the same for our digital age. It's driven laws like GDPR pushed companies to invest in cybersecurity and made us rethink trust online, but it's also made us a little like those wary villagers always on edge, second-guessing every email. That's not a bad thing, it's keeping us sharp. And just like the Viking Age gave way to a more connected Europe, our battles with spam are building a smarter, more secure digital world if we learn the lessons. Here's a thought to chew on. What if the next big threat isn't just spam, but something we haven't seen yet? The Vikings didn't stop at raids. They became settlers, traders, explorers. Scammers won't stop at emails either. They're already using AI deepfakes and voice scams. The same adaptability that made our ancestors survive is what we need now. Maybe it's not about stopping every raid, but about building a life where raids can't hurt us. That means staying curious, staying skeptical, and maybe even laughing at the next "you've won a private jet" email, because you know better. Before we sail off, let's make this personal. Think about the last time you got a weird email. Did you pause or did you almost click? What would you do differently now, knowing what our ancestors went through to survive their own invasions? The Viking Age showed us that humans are tough, adaptable, and a little stubborn. We're still here after all, despite longships and swords. And we'll keep thriving despite spam and scams as long as we stay one step ahead. So here's your call to action. Take a second to check your inbox right now. Spot anything fishy, delete it. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, maybe that friend who keeps clicking free iPhone links. And if you love this dive into Vikings and spam hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel for more wild historical adventures. Want to keep exploring? Check out our video on the craziest survival stories from history. Next, it's packed with tales that'll make you glad you're fighting spam instead of saber-toothed cats. Thanks for joining us on this journey through time and tech. You're tougher than a Viking warlord, and your inbox is your fortress. Keep it locked, stay sharp, and we'll see you in the next video.